All right, let's jump right in. Today we're looking at Iron Flame. That's the sequel to Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And we've got a ton of Reddit discussions to get through. You know what that means. Strong opinions and maybe some heated debates. We'll see.
It's interesting. This is more than just your typical book discussion. I mean, Iron Flame has really stirred up some strong feelings from the fans. So we're going to go through it all and try to figure out what it all means.
Exactly. And just a quick refresher for anyone who maybe hasn't read Fourth Wing yet, Venin genes are like the really scary monsters in this world. Think, ultimate bad guys. And signets are these magical marks that give people special abilities, kind of like superpowers. Okay, now let's talk about the love story, because Engine's always telling Violet how much he loves her, and that's created some interesting discussions online.
Yeah, a lot of readers felt like it was almost too much. All the declarations of love, it kind of started to feel repetitive,
Yeah.
almost like too dramatic.
Right.
Maybe it would have been better to show those feelings through his actions instead of just constantly saying, I love you.
That's a good point. We get it, he's in love. But hearing it over and over, it starts to lose its meaning, especially when there's all this stuff happening with dragons and battles and everything. Speaking of characters, let's talk about Violet, our main character, a dragon rider, even though she has some physical disabilities. And, people have a lot of different opinions about her, both good and bad.
It's funny how the things that some people like about her
Yeah.
are the same things that others don't like. Like, she wants Xaden to be honest with her, but then she keeps secrets from him. Some people think that's hypocritical, but others say that's what makes her feel real, like a real person. She's not perfect. She's just trying to figure things out.
Yeah, that's true. We always expect our heroes in fantasy books to be perfect, but in real life, relationships are messy. Her physical disabilities, that sparked a whole conversation about representation.
Definitely. Some people love seeing that in a fantasy book, a main character with disabilities, but others felt like the book didn't really show how hard things would be for her.
Yeah.
Especially in some scenes. So it's like, where do you draw the line? How do you show someone's strength, but also acknowledge their struggles?
It's a hard balance to find, and one that authors have to think carefully about. It's important to show the whole picture, the good and the bad. Okay, let's move on to Exat and our brooding dragon rider, another character who's gotten mixed reactions.
A lot of people liked the whole bad boy thing at first. But then they felt like he was being too controlling, almost manipulative. And then that ending, with him turning into a Venin. Some people love that dark twist. Others felt like it kind of ruined his character development.
It's like that will they, won't they thing, but with much higher stakes. Will he give into the darkness or find redemption?
And that leads us to another big topic, pacing. A lot of readers felt like the pacing was off. Too much time on the relationship drama, not enough on the plot or world building. Yeah, a lot of people said the back and forth between Violet and Xaden
Yeah.
about their trust issues. It got kind of repetitive and slowed the story down.
Yeah.
It's like being stuck in a holding pattern and waiting for the story to take off.
Okay, that's the perfect way to describe it. Just circling around and around, waiting to land. But the runway's nowhere in sight.
Yeah.
So that brings us to world building and magic system. Fourth Wing was really immersive. So what happened in Iron Flame?
Well, some people enjoyed seeing the new places and creatures, but others thought the descriptions weren't detailed enough. They felt confused instead of wowed,
Yeah.
and the magic system.
Yeah.
It's still kind of vague. There aren't any clear rules or limits.
It's like you've got this amazing toolbox, but you don't know how to use the tools or even what they can do. And speaking of things that are missing, there were a lot of comments about typos and editing mistakes.
Yeah, it's like finding a scratch on a beautiful vase. It doesn't ruin it completely, but it's distracting.
Right.
It makes you wonder if maybe the book was rushed to be published.
Mm-hmm.
But, amongst all the critiques, there were also some great recommendations for other books with similar themes, like Fireborn by Rosaria Munda and Dragon School by Sarah Kale Wilson.
Oh, those are both great. Fireborn is a little darker, more political, and Dragon School is more fun and adventurous. But they both have strong female characters, awesome world building, and of course, dragons. Okay, let's get into some of the mysteries that have the fandom buzzing. First up, Violet's second signet. We know it's coming, but we don't know what it is. And of course, that's led to a ton of scaries.
The most popular ones are being able to talk to the dead, dreamwalking, which means entering other people's minds and enhancing other people's powers. All of these would totally change the story. It could really affect the characters and the plot in the next books.
Can you imagine Violet talking to the dead dragon riders? Or even her own father? That would be crazy.
In dreamwalking, She could get inside the minds of the Venin, learn their secrets, maybe even control their thoughts. The possibilities are endless. It's clear that the author is setting us up for some major twists and turns.
It's like we've been given a treasure map, but some of the landmarks are missing. We know there's treasure out there, but the journey to find it is going to be full of surprises. Speaking of surprises, let's talk about that ending. I mean, wow. Readers were left in shock, wanting answers.
The way the author handles Xaden's transformation, it's amazing. It's not just physical, it's emotional too.
Yeah.
It really makes you question everything about him. His motivations, what's good and evil. So many questions.
And this is where those chapter quotes come in, the ones from historical figures and old texts. They add another layer to the story. They foreshadow things. They hint at connections that we might not understand until later.
Some readers thought the foreshadowing was a bit too obvious, though. Like, it gave away the surprise.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing, Too much foreshadowing, and the story becomes predictable. But too little, and readers might feel lost.
It's like playing chess, and your opponent keeps telling you their next move. It takes the fun out of it. But on the other hand, those quotes can be really helpful clues, especially for readers who like to figure things out on their own.
Exactly. And that's what makes Iron Flame so interesting to talk about. It's a book that rewards you for paying attention. It makes you think. Yep. And you keep thinking about it long after you finish reading it.
So what does this all mean? Well, it seems like Iron Flame has really gotten people talking about everything. The characters, the romance, the world building. And that's what makes a book unforgettable, right? It stays with you, it makes you think, and it leaves you wanting more.
And that feeling, that anticipation, that's what makes us want to dig deeper, explore the fan theories, and try to figure out all the hidden meanings. And, of course, we can't wait for the next book.
Now, we want to hear from you. What did you think of Iron Flame? What theories do you have? What are you hoping to see in the next book? Because this conversation is far from over. Your thoughts are just as important as ours.
So keep those thoughts coming. And join us as we continue to explore Iron Flame. All the mysteries and the amazing community of fans who love it. Because the best conversations happen when we share our ideas, challenge each other, and celebrate the power of stories to bring us together.
All right, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive into Iron Flame. Make sure to tune in next week for part 2. We'll be tackling even more fan theories and discussing some of the most controversial moments in the book. Until then, happy reading.
See you next time. Okay, so let's get back to that ending. I mean, readers were left with a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Especially about what's going to happen next in the series.
For sure. We're definitely on the edge of our seats after Iron Flame.
Yeah.
And with 3 more books to go, I think it's safe to say the author's got some big plans.
Exactly. And one of the biggest questions, obviously, is what's going to happen to Xaden now that he's a Venin? It's not just a physical change. It's like his whole being is different now. Readers are really worried about him.
Oh, I know. I was totally stressed out reading those last few chapters. And it's interesting how even some of the people who didn't like Xaden's behavior before are now, super protective of him. They want him to find a way out of the darkness.
That just shows how good of a writer she is. She makes you feel so many different things about these characters. You see their flaws, but you also see their potential. And that's what makes Xaden's story so interesting.
Right. It's that classic battle between good and evil. And the ending of Iron Flame really highlights that. So the ending also left us with this huge mystery about Violet's second signet. We know it's powerful. We know it's important. But what is it?
That's the million-dollar question. And the fans have come up with all sorts of theories. We've talked about talking to the dead, dream walking, boosting powers.
Yeah.
But there's another one that came up a lot on Reddit, time manipulation.
Whoa, time manipulation. Now that would be insane. Think about it. Rewinding time, skipping ahead, changing history.
That would make Violet incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Maybe too powerful. So it makes you wonder, would that kind of power change her? Would she use it for good, or would it corrupt her?
It's a really interesting question. It makes you think about choices, consequences, and what it means to have power. And Violet's already dealing with so much pressure to save her people. Adding time manipulation to the mix would just make things even more intense.
Absolutely. It's like having this magic wand that can change reality. But there's a huge responsibility that comes with that power and the potential to mess things up even worse.
Right. You could really do some damage with that kind of power. Okay, so let's go back to those mysterious chapter quotes for a second. They definitely make the story more interesting, but there's been some debate about how much foreshadowing is too much.
Yeah, some people felt like the quotes gave too much away. It ruined the surprise. But others liked having those little hints and clues. They saw them as like breadcrumbs leading to a bigger reveal.
They definitely kept me guessing. There was one quote that really stood out to me. It hinted at a connection between Violet and the Venin. It said something like, "The blood of the ancients runs strong in some." And with Violet's silver hair, which is super unique, it makes you wonder if maybe she's got Venin blood in her.
Oh, that's a cool theory. Imagine what that would mean for this story.
Yep.
It would totally change her relationship with Gaben, add more conflict. And maybe she'd even be able to understand the Venom better because of it.
It's like finding a hidden key that unlocks a whole new part of the story. And speaking of secrets, we still don't know much about the wards, those magical barriers that protect the human kingdoms. We know they're failing, but why?
That's another big mystery. Figuring out the wards could be the key to defeating the Venom. Or maybe even finding a way to turn Xaden back. It's like a puzzle waiting to be solved.
It's like one of those old maps leading to buried treasure. You have to decode the symbols, follow the clues, and face the dangers to get the reward. And in Iron Flame, the reward is knowledge. Knowledge about the past, the present, and the future.
Knowledge is power, for sure.
Sure.
The more Violet and her friends know about the wards, the Venom, and their own history, the better chance they have of surviving.
Okay, so we've got all these theories. But one thing's for sure. Iron Flame has made a huge impact on readers. It's sparked so many discussions, it's gotten people's imaginations running wild, and it's left them wanting more.
And that's what a good sequel is supposed to do. Builds on the first book, expands the world, the characters grow, and most importantly, you're excited to see what happens next.
All right, so for everyone listening who's finished Iron Flame, what are your burning questions? What crazy theories do you have? What do you want to see in the next book? Tell us. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, this conversation's not over yet. We want to hear your insights, your predictions. We're all in this together.
Okay, so let's take a little break from all this serious stuff and talk about those other books we mentioned earlier. Fireborn and Dragon School. They're both really cool dragon rider stories, and they might help you get through the wait for the next Fourth Wing book.
Fireborn by Rosaria Munda is set in this post-apocalyptic world where dragons are used in war. It follows a group of dragon riders who are trained to fight. It's all about survival, loyalty, and who gets to be in charge.
Ooh, that sounds intense. I love the idea of dragons being used as weapons. It adds a whole new level to the relationship between humans and dragons. So what about Dragon School by Sarah K.L. Wilson?
Dragon School is a bit more lighthearted. It's about this girl who discovers she can ride dragons, and then she's thrown into this world of magic, adventure, and even some romance. It's a really fun, easy read, perfect if you just want to escape for a while.
I love stories about hidden talents. It's like finding out you have superpowers,
Yeah.
and the romance is always a plus. Okay, before we move on, I wanted to bring up something that came up a lot in the Reddit discussions, how Violet's physical disabilities were handled.
Yeah, that's a really important topic.
Yeah.
It shows how hard it is to get representation right in fiction. A lot of people loved seeing a main character with disabilities, but some felt like the book didn't really acknowledge the struggles she would face in real life.
Yeah.
Especially in certain scenes.
It's all about finding that balance, right? Showing her strength, but also being realistic about the challenges.
Exactly. You can't just pretend those challenges don't exist.
Yeah.
Representation needs to be authentic. It needs to show the whole range of human experiences.
Yeah.
And I think this is something the author could explore more in the next books, show the complexities of Violet's journey and how her disabilities shape her relationships.
I totally agree. It's a chance to really challenge people's ideas about disability and create a more inclusive world in fantasy literature. Okay, I know we're almost out of time for this part, but there's one more theory I have to share.
Ooh, I love a good theory. What is it?
This one's about the Xaden and how he turns into a Venin. Remember how at the end it seems like he's losing control, giving in to the darkness? What if he's faking it? What if he's doing it on purpose?
Wait, what do you mean?
What if he's pretending to be evil so he can take the Venin down from the inside?
Whoa, like a double agent.
Exactly. That would explain why he seems so mean to Violet.
Oh, wow.
He's not really giving in. He's biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
That's a really cool theory.
Yeah.
It would totally change the story. All that tension, the betrayals, and then the big reveal when his plan comes together. That would be amazing.
I know, right? Okay, so we've got theories about Violet's second signet, theories about Xaden's true intentions, theories about the wards.
It feels like Iron Flame gave us more questions than answers.
Ah,
But that's what makes a good book stick with you, right? It makes you think, and it leaves you wanting more.
it's like a puzzle box with all these layers. Every time you think you figured it out, there's something else to discover. So as we wait for the next book, we can't help but wonder, What other secrets are hidden in Iron Flame? What surprises are waiting for us in the Empyrean? Okay, so many theories. I don't know about you, but my head is spinning. Xaden as a
Yeah.
double agent. Time manipulation. Venin bloodlines. It's wild. Rebecca Yarros has really thrown us for a loop with this one.
She's so good at weaving all these different plot lines together.
Mm-hmm.
But the characters never get lost in the mix, and it's clear that people are really connecting with Iron Flame. I mean, there's so many discussions and debates online. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And it's been so interesting seeing all the different opinions. Like, some people love Violet, others can't stand her. Same with Zen. And you've got people who are totally Team Xaden and others who think he's gone too far. It's crazy how one book can make people react in so many different ways.
It shows you that everyone brings their own baggage to the story.
Yeah.
Right? Their own experiences, their own biases. It
Mhm.
all affects how we see the characters and the plot.
Yeah, it's like everyone's looking through a different lens, but what we all have in common is that love for stories,
Hmm.
that desire to escape into another world.
And Iron Flame definitely gives you that escape.
Yeah.
It's such a rich world full of history and magic.
Mm.
And even though people have different interpretations, there's still that shared passion. Everyone cares about these characters. They get invested in their relationships. They argue about their choices. That's what makes a book really special when it gets under your skin like that.
I totally agree. It's not just about the plot or the world, it's about the characters, making them feel real, making us care about what happens to them, even when they do things we don't like. Okay, before we wrap up, there's one more thing I wanted to mention, something that people had strong feelings about. The female characters, specifically Violet and Xaden's ex, Kat.
Oh, yeah. The love triangle.
Huh.
Always a tricky one. It can create so much drama, and sometimes it makes the female characters look weak. And in Iron Flame, some readers felt like Kat was a bit too mean to Violet. She was playing into those old stereotypes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why can't we have strong women who support each other instead of fighting over a guy? I think the author could definitely do more with this in the next books. What if Violet and Kat actually become friends, or at least learn to respect each other?
Oh, I love that idea. It would be such a refreshing change. It would show the power of women working together and challenge those old ideas about women always being in competition.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Okay, so we've talked about the characters, the plot, the world building, all those crazy fan theories, and I think we can all agree Iron Flame is a book that gets people talking.
It really makes you think. It challenges your perspective.
Yeah.
And it sparks some really interesting discussions. That's the sign of a truly great story.
So well said.
Yeah.
As we say goodbye to the world of Iron Flame, for now at least, I want to leave you with one final question to think about.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
If Violet can control time, could she use that power to stop Xaden from becoming a Venin? Could she change the past, create a different future for both of them?
Wow, that's a big one. It makes you think about the power of choice, the responsibility that comes with it, and the hope that things can always get better.
It definitely leaves us wanting more. All right, that's all the time we have for today, but keep those theories coming, keep those discussions going, and most importantly, keep reading, because the adventures never really end.
Happy reading, everyone. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.